Hello, hello. Welcome to episode 32 of Digital ILIAD. We're making an FTL-like in Godot. Episode 32. We are at our next power of 2, which is pretty great. So we can celebrate that. We've come a long way since our last power of 2 episode 16. And yeah, we can only look forward to seeing what we'll have during our next power of 2 episode 64. So yeah, let's get started for the day, I guess. We had a very interesting stream yesterday. We got rated by Jotson, which was amazing. Jotson is an incredible Godot game dev. That was amazing and nerve-wracking. We also had a viewer, Captain Fubar, who had some really good ideas on how to get around our problem that we're experiencing with tilemap scene collection placement within the tilemap. We ended up separating our decks into 4 different tilemaps to get around this issue, so that we could place scene collections within each layer and have them get the correct z-index. However, this viewer had the idea of just using a proxy, just using a flat image, which we have here, that act as stand-ins for the nodes, and then having a startup process that substitutes in the proxies. So like these door proxies that are just flat images will get substituted with the actual nodes. And that's a good idea, because then we can place the nodes, we can set the correct z-index, we can do all of this at startup. We're still able to paint onto the tile map very easily. It's a great workaround, at least for now. There is some hope that Godot 4.3 will solve some of these issues by some changes they're making to how tile map layers work in terms of how they exist on the scene tree, I think. I'm not sure. I should go read all of that stuff. Kind of just trusting Captain Fubar knew his stuff. We'll have to give the captain a ship in this game. So I made another tile map. We need to move it over. What is the offset we're using? Minus 16. It should be minus 16, minus 4. And we're just going to copy over the tile maps that the tile map layers that we made here back to a single tile map, and we're going to try that. We're going to try this proxy system, because there are a lot of issues that we will run into having each deck of the ship be its own whole tile map. Like if someone takes a lift up from one tile map to the other, we're going to need to move everything. We'll need to move characters over and do some other stuff. So it would be great to just use one tile map, and I think we have a way forward to doing that. We also then don't have to refactor all of our code for the cutaway system, which already works based on the assumption that we're using a single tile map. So it's a bit of a step back, but I think it's the kind of step back that will let us take 2 steps forward. So I think it is worth it. So we made 5 layers here. I'm still torn on the idea of having a crew layer for the tile map. I think there are some interesting things that we would get from that. But I don't think it's a good idea. Like, we could do some interesting things, like we could use animations to handle the transition between tile positions, so that we could actually control the placement of the character on the tile map directly. But I don't know. We'll walk away from that for now. But I'm still interested in maybe pursuing that in the future. So we need layers both for the floors, which I'm calling decks, and the walls, which I'm calling hulls. We need to make sure my sort enabled is on. And also have a door layer. And a decoration layer. And I think that's good. That's all the potentially non-interactive. The doors are obviously interactable, but we want them on the tile map for flood fill reasons, so that we can flood fill and figure out where the rooms are and use the doors as kind of the boundaries between each flood fill. Okay, so that's the first floor. Deck 1, hull 1, door 1, deco 1. So we just need to recreate this for the other 4. Plus maybe one layer on top that's like the very roof of the structure. Also really need to like draw an outer shell. Now that we have like a deck layout or a ship layout that's like kind of decent. Or I at least need to make some panels that can act as the exterior, even if we don't draw like a proper outer shell. We also need to cover up these sections. You know, I've been listening to a streamer, Armus. He like doesn't play music during the streams. Like he listens to his own music, and so that his viewers can listen to their own music, and I'm like tempted to implement that. Because Pretzel Rocks has been kind of limited. I'm getting kind of tired of these I Saw You When I Walk Boy songs, which are like, seems like there are whole albums that begin with that sample. I think they're all made by the same artist. I just feel like this music is a little limited, and you know, there go my chances of ever getting a Pretzel Rocks subscription, I guess, or sponsorship, but I don't know. I am trying to create like an atmosphere for this stream, because for me it's an early morning stream, but I get that it's not an early morning stream for everyone else. So maybe that's wrong of me to try to do that, to try to force like a certain ambience. Still needs work. Hi, hello. Welcome to the chat. We're working on kind of an pseudo-isometric FTL-like. It's morning to you too? Okay, well, I'm glad somebody gets it. Yeah, we're just thinking about some of this stuff. We're still really new to streaming. But yeah, this is the kind of thing we're working on. This is like a example of a bridge scene, working on kind of a Star Trek style FTL-like that's got an isometric look. We've been struggling with different kinds of representations for the tile maps. We've got some issues here where walls are obscuring the tiles behind them because of how side-on our view is. So we've got a cutaway system that lets us peel the walls back. But we've been trying different tile map compositions. Like this is a different tile map for each deck. And we had an idea yesterday. It was suggested to us an option of not having to do this. So we are gonna just quickly recreate this. Just copy these over to a single tile map and try this idea out. But anyway, thank you for stopping by. Welcome to the show. I think I am going to start with a crew one, just so. Deck, all, door, deco, crew. I see problems with putting the actual crew members, the animating crew members on a tile, but I see some potential gains too in terms of having it behave more like a game board, having it behave more like a we need to iterate the Z index here. Are you going to use programming to cut away the wall based on the camera movement? Is that going to get some coffee? The short answer is yes, but we can get into that more when you are back, because coffee is life. I have some of my coffee right here. If we don't end up using this layer for crew, that's just a stand-in layer that we could use for something else. So I think that's fine. Oh, thank you for the follow. Still needs work. Really appreciate that. When you're back, we can get into more of the cutaway stuff. But yeah, we're basically manipulating the tile map during runtime. We're just changing the modulation of tiles. So we're not like deleting them, but we're just peering through them. And we're doing that through, you know, the X and Y axes of the isometric tile map here. Right now, it does work layer like coordinate by coordinate. We're thinking about adding some room-based logic so it happens room by room instead, just so you aren't accidentally like cutting halfway into a room or something like that. But we have quite a few options for how we can handle that. We've just been having some issues with getting scene collections to work well with our tile map placement. Deck, hall, deco. No, it's door, then deco. Deco 3. What if it did a range of coordinates rather than coordinate by coordinate? Yeah, that's essentially what we're thinking. We just need, you just need to define that range. And I think it needs to be defined by the size of the room, because you'll want to peer room by room. You'll want to say, like if we're here and there's this room that juts out in front, we'd want to like look at the room behind it. So we'd get rid of this room and the walls in front of this room, and potentially we have an interesting challenge here with these like multi-level thick walls. Yeah, but yeah, I think we'll end up with a room-by-room solution. So we have a flood fill system that we were using at an earlier stage of the prototype that used the doors as markers. So it would just flood fill through each layer and figure out what rooms were what, using the doors as boundaries. So we'll get that back in here, and then we can tell what rooms are, and we'll try to hook that up to our cutaway system here. What is this complaining about? Y-sorted layer has the same z-index as a non-Y-sorted layer. What did I forget to sort? I'll go back. Inevitably forgetting something. There it is. Forgot that one. And it needs to be there, and there. Yeah, that's our struggle is definitely. Oh, we're also going to be, which is going to be crazy to do for a isometric 2D game, but we're going to have camera rotation. So, as an alternative solution, instead of cutting into the ship, you could just turn the ship around and look at the other side, which, for an example like this, is kind of trivial, but I think some more interesting ship layouts will make that a better option. We also want to be able to turn the ship, so we can have a little more positionality. So camera rotation is going to be a thing, and it is going to be a trip to do. It's like pretty unusual, I think. I'm going to just give these a z-index that matches their deck number. We can use 0 for the background or something, and then -1 for like deep background stuff. Just a classic, do you count from 0 or do you count from 1 situation here. I'm always told when I'm painting that I'm not using enough layers, and I think I'm maybe going a little overboard here as a like counter example. But yeah, we've got an idea for how we can make a sprite sheet that basically uses the Atlas chords to tell me, you know, how to render a given tile depending on which camera rotation it's at. We haven't implemented it yet. That might be a weekend thing because it's going to be a kind of mind-numbing mapping system. I think it's quite doable. I've seen other people do isometric 2D camera rotations, and there's like some crazy potential solutions. In my mind, the toughest one is to just to render the scene 4 times and then just swap which one you're displaying depending on what camera rotation is currently active. That is like nuts to me. We're just going to obviously have just 90-degree camera rotations. Like, we're not going to support arbitrary camera rotations. Sounds challenging. It is. I end up talking about it all the time, just in case someone comes up with a better idea or has a good hint on how to implement it, because I'm still pretty new to Godot. We're going to have a 5th layer that we might not use very much, but we are going to have it. It'll basically be the roof, the exterior, because right now we don't have any exteriors. Like, these walls are still out. I would consider interior. Like, they don't have the outer shell. So we need a roof on here. All right, almost done with this. You just downloaded a few days ago, and I'm watching devs use it. I've been learning somewhat. Yeah. That's what I do during most of my workday. Is just watch Godot devs. Because there's definitely lots of aspects of this engine I haven't even touched with yet. I'm like way more familiar with like Unity and stuff. But I've been really liking it, especially as a small like solo dev. I've been really enjoying Godot. I don't use Unity anymore. Yeah, you used to work in Unity. Yes. Us poor Unity refugees. Cast aside. Had to move on. For reasons that we don't need to get into, you know, right? Yeah, I've been really enjoying. I really enjoy the 2D, the native 2D support of Godot. Like the fact that the screen coordinates are like pixel coordinates, like that it's pixel perfect. I haven't really messed with the 3D too much. The 3D seems adequate and fine. Seems like very comparable to Unity 3D. But the 2D, the native 2D support is like, to me, it's, I don't know any other system that like has such a precise 2D support. Maybe Game Maker, I don't know, because Game Maker is like very 2D, but I haven't actually used it. All right, so we've got that. So what we need to do now, this is like so many tilemap layers. We need to grab this one. And we need to move this over section by section. Should be as easy as copy and paste. He says, okay. There we go. Let's grab the hull. Really glad I don't have to draw this over again. That would have driven me insane. That's not the whole thing. Still not the whole thing. There we go. Not sure what's going on there. Oh, I put it in the wrong spot. Oops. Easy. Easy to fix. Down one. There we go. Now we just need the doors. Why is that not working? Just messed up grabbing it or something. That is not working for some reason. It's okay, we can just... This one we should be able to just redraw. Give me my doors here. Have you used Moho for animation? No, what is that? Let me know. My animations so far, let me grab one. My animations have been just totally hand painted. Just hand painted in A-Sprite. And you know, right now we're just using animated sprite because it's simple. We also use animation player. But this is about as complicated as any of my animations have gotten so far. I guess we have like a character set up with animation player, and like they can run, but we are like so primitive, low res right now. Oh, imagine that with some steam particles. Ooh, good idea, two nerdy nerds. How's it going? Yeah. Put up a link. You were thinking of getting the Humble Bundle, and it's called Moho Pro 12.5. Okay. I got the Cinti Humble Bundle when that was up like the week of GDC because it was like $30 for like $1,000 worth of 3D assets, and I have like no intention of doing 3D anytime soon, but I was like, oh, the value. They get me like that. They're like, oh, this thing I didn't intend on buying is 50% off. Now I'm going to save 50% of my money that I wasn't going to spend. They get me every time. All right. So we got door, hall, and the deck, hall, and the door for level 1. Okay, let's go to level 2. Let's grab level 2. Let's check this out. Moho. Traditional, efficient alternative. Let me just put this up here. An efficient alternative to traditional animation. Content pack with brushes, vector drawn, and fully rigged characters, and more to help get you started. I don't yet understand what this does for me. Bone rigging, smart bones. Smart bones trademark. I love that. Frame by frame, bitmap to vector conversion, integrated lip syncing, professional timeline. I mean, this looks 2D. Powerful 2D rigging system. I mean, this seems cool. I honestly don't know how you would do 2D animation otherwise. I'm just an A-sprite boy here. Everything I do is an A-sprite. But, you know, if you're working on not pixel art, that seems like maybe the way to go. Smart bones sound like the start of a sci-fi horror. Yeah, something like that. Smart bones. It's like Elon Musk's next company after Neuralink. He's like, just, you know, haven't you ever wanted to like be able to like have smart bones? Just let us swap out your existing bones with a set of smart bones. And you'll be able to like feel the sound cloud. Like you've heard of bone induction audio. Now you'll just have bone induction audio straight from the bones. Yeah, there's some fun you could have with that for sure. But yeah, I'm sorry I don't have a more intelligent evaluation of that software. Two nerdy nerds at the moment. We're just swapping over our test tile map here from a multi-tile map solution to a single tile map solution. Captain Fubar had a really good idea yesterday that we are going to try to implement. All of my best ideas come from viewers. No surprise there. What happened to the doors? Okay, they're here. Having some weird issues with my proxy doors. Yeah, they're not copying over correctly. Why is that? It's fine. Phone notification vibration brought to a whole new level. Yeah. Darren Keen, yo, how's the absolutely crazy isometric custom tooling going today? We are managing to avoid the crazy custom tooling for now. The crazy custom tooling is definitely going to come soon. I've definitely moved away from any idea of having our own tooling in editor, like in this mode. Because I think we're going to do most of our ship design like in-game. So I think we're going to end up having an in-game ship editor. Mostly just for me, but also just to leave the door open for like modding support. Terrified of putting stuff on the wrong level right now. There's like 25 tile map layers to this tile map. Yesterday this dev was having issue with stuff spawning and trying to solve it, but then just it fixed itself. That is like the worst. That is the single, in my mind, that is the single worst thing that can happen with a bug, is if it just goes away and it just stops appearing, but you didn't do anything that made it so that like that should actually, yeah, you didn't actually do anything that warrants that change in behavior. That's straight up terrifying. Because that means it's still there, just lurking, just waiting. Just waiting to strike. Yeah, because it can come back at any time, truly. Truly any time for any reason, and it will not be explainable. Just haunting. Okay, so I guess I have to draw the doors. The doors have to be drawn. Oh shoot, I did put this on the wrong layer. I knew it was gonna happen. Go. Programmers, horror game, and bugs disappointing coming back. Yeah, exactly. So what was the idea you mentioned earlier from the Captain Foobar? So the problem that we've been having, which is why we went to this split tile map thing, was if you're like me and you were like, I'll just set up each vertical layer of this tile map to have a different Z index so that we could have the vertical layers that stack on top of each other. If you then try to place a scene collection into a tile map layer, the scene collection will not take on the Z index of the tile map layer. So like if the scene collection, like if this door's tile Z index is 0, it'll work on the bottom level if the bottom level is also 0. But as soon as you try to place one of these scene collections into a higher layer with a different Z index, it just won't render in front of anything because it's just still got that Z index that's 0. So we were like, okay, we can solve that. Because scene collections at least will respect the Z index of the tile map itself, as long as Z is relative for the child, but it won't respect the layer's Z index. But Captain Foobar's idea was basically to use proxies, to use like stand-in, like these doors, which are just like proxies for the scene collection. So we'll place the proxies in here, and then on startup, we'll have a script that goes through and substitutes the scene collections for the proxies. Or the opposite of that, whatever. Yeah, so it was a great idea. It causes us to throw away like everything we did this week. But, you know, that's game dev. All right, one more layer, and then we're done, I swear. And that works for me because most of our code assumes that we're working with one tile map with multiple layers. So, and there's apparently reason to suspect that this problem might actually be fixed by some changes they're making to tile maps in 4.3. But I don't actually know about that. That's like, that was another thing that Fubar told us. So we're just hoping on a prayer here that ends up being true, in which case we could just eventually get rid of our proxy system if they end up fixing this. Door 4. Why did I do this again? Deck 4. That's what I get for having really short variable names all the time. So many layers. All 4. And then we'll redraw the doors manually, since that is what we have to do. All right. So we've recreated this. We've successfully recreated this. We can go to our shipboard here, our old shipboard here. And then as long as I change the number of layers, layer count is 4. How do I use layer count? Okay, so that's not really the right usage. This is more like deck count. So we're counting the number of decks on the ship. Deck count is 4. Deck count. Layer count would be something else. Layer count is like... Layer count should probably not be a constant. But you know, right now it is going to be. Although I should probably not do that until I find all uses of that word. Do I not use it anywhere? Cool. Is that the GD language? Yeah, this is GD script. I am opting to use GD script over C# for now. Just for the learning experience. Why didn't we not use cutaway by layer anymore? Don't we need that? Do we not need that? I guess not. All right. I need to figure out where we say, like, which layers we act upon. Do we act upon all layers at the moment? It's probably not what we want. This is assuming that we only have 1 layer per deck, is what we're doing, which is not what we want. We have 5 layers per deck, so we need to account for that. What's the right way to do that? We just go through and we just take the number and divide it by something. You were looking at using GDScript because GD can be ported to Nintendo through open source RAR labs. Okay. I'm not going to lie, if I am ever at a point where I'm thinking about console porting, I am going to just use the W4 Games console port stuff. At GDC, I saw them. They had a good demo. They had a great demo with console cross-platform play, which like isn't relevant for me, but it was like the same game running networked between, like, it was like a PC, an Xbox, a PS4 or 5, and a Switch. And they were all playing cross-platform in the same game instance. It was super cool. So their console port tech is like... That might also have been a demonstration of their cloud tech. Probably should have paid more attention, but I have no intention of doing multiplayer, so... Expensive? Not terribly, I think. You know, at least in terms of console ports, how console ports go. They have a pretty reasonable system where I think as long as you keep paying them, you can like keep updating the game. And so you would just pay for a license, and then when the license lapses, your game, it's not like your game ceases to exist, you just wouldn't be able to update it anymore or something like that. I don't remember the details. It seemed moderately generous when I read about it. But yeah, W4 Games, I would check that out. Because we're definitely someday hoping to console port. Like, this game is gonna have controller, like native controller support, just to leave the door open to at least the Steam Deck, if nothing else. All right, I'm blanking on what we're doing. Oh yeah, we're accounting for the fact that we no longer have... Previously, there was just one layer for each deck of the ship, and now we have 5 layers for each deck of the ship. So we need to account for that. That's what we're accounting for. Layer counts, yeah. Keep me on track here. This shouldn't be a constant. It's not going to be. I guess it could be an onReady variable. Should be fine, right? Okay, so we've got our layer count. What we do want as a constant, though, is probably layers per deck. The deck count is technically 5, but we're not using the top one right now, so I'm tempted to ignore it. So here we are... So this is the cutaway coordinates. These are the coordinates that tell us how far we're peeling into the thing, so that's fine. For layer in range, cutaway max dot z plus 1, it's also fine. Is range exclusive? Is that why I'm doing this? Yeah, okay, so the upper bound is, it stops before the max. Cool. Okay, so this is good. We don't have a problem with that. Let's go through. So for layer in range, get layers count. We don't need to call this again. We could just say for layer in range, layer count. These layers start at 0, so we don't need to add to that. Tiles and layer. Tile cell. Tile cell and get used cells for this layer. So we are just grabbing all of the tile cells by layer. That may be not the way we want to do this. What we probably want to do is have like, here are like deck cells. Here are all of the hull cells for a given layer, like hull 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and like deck 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and door 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Instead of this, of tile cells by layer, 0 through 24 or whatever. Because then we can at least say, we're on deck 4, give me the deck 4 cells, give me the hull 4 cells, give me the door 4 cells. Probably want to do that. Hey, Inamoth. Hello, hello. Welcome to the party. It's a beautiful day. A wonderful day in the neighborhood. I am doing this here, which is fine, instead of on the input handler. There was something I had from here, which is we were setting the hull extents based on the extents of each floor, the extents of each, like the actual extents of the thing that we drew. So we might want to port that over, but let's not worry about that right now. We can just do this more simple solution for now. So where does the problem manifest itself? The problem manifests itself here when we are deciding what... Yeah, so I think the solution is what I was saying. So instead of storing all tile cells by layer, we're going to sort them by type by layer. Yeah, about that process function. What's wrong with my process function? It's a little long. It's better than some of the weird issues we were running into yesterday where like a child's process was like depending on its parent and its parent wasn't like gonna load in time, and I was not enjoying that. It makes me anxious, the amount of code on it. Yeah. It's a little anxiety inducing, but it's one of those things where, for one thing, the expensive thing we're doing is updating the tile data every frame. So what we need is a system to not do that, for one thing. That's way more expensive than just iterating every frame. But it's one of those things where this is the script for the shipboard, so we're going to have like one of these per scene. Maybe more, depending on if we let you focus on other ships, like if we let you bring up other ships on the main screen and look at them. But yeah, we're going to be iterating like one of these per game scene. So it's like not a huge deal. But yeah, I get nervous about that stuff too. As an Unity like ECS dots, like high performance mind kind of person, I get nervous about that stuff too. I'm trying to fight that off here. I'm trying to say, you know, we don't need to be optimal. We don't need to worry about that stuff at this point. We'll think about performance when it becomes an issue. Per frame, yeah. We should be fine. We're not going to be doing like physics stuff or anything. I feel like we're not going to run into some crazy performance limitations. I say, and then like 2 years later, I'm like trying to squeeze this game onto like a Nintendo, like the original Nintendo Switch, and I'm like, why did I do this? It's like, what do you mean this doesn't run on a low performance piece of hardware from like 2008? Yeah, prototype dirty code. If it's good enough for Casey Muratori, it's good enough for us. And he famously like just does the simplest implementation the first time and then worries about it after that. I also like to quote the Randy school of optimization, which is you do the caveman solution first, you wait until the caveman solution is no longer sufficient, and then you do a slightly less caveman solution, and you just repeat that cycle until you have shippable code. All right, so we've decided we're going to store these separately. We'll put them here. Variable deck tiles by layer. I don't like this. I'm gonna end up saying deck tiles by deck, which is not great. We're using the same term to refer to two different things. I don't love that. We could call them levels. We could call this like level count, which has a connotation. We could say ship level count. We call them ship levels. Because we're not going to really have levels in like the traditional... I guess we will. We'll have scenes. We can call those scenes, I guess. It's the problem with terminology in this stuff. Everything has like multiple names. We're going to call it deck tiles by level. That at least feels like it means something. We're also going to have hull tiles by level. We're going to have door tiles by level. Because it's an open question whether we actually want to cut away every type. We actually might want to have this on a tiered system, right? So like you're cutting the ship away. Maybe you cut the walls away first so that you can see into that room. But then if you cut further, you then not only cut the walls of the next room, but you cut the floors of the previous room. So now you can see through and down. Maybe we do that. Having it split out like this gives us a lot of options. Because I think room visibility really is our first cursed problem. It might not actually be a cursed problem. Like it might not fit the Alex Jaffe definition of a cursed problem, but it sure feels like it does. Because it's a thing where like the promise of it is like incompatible with the reality of it or something like that. Where like we want to be able to see through this ship and have good visibility into everything that's happening, but we're also doing like side-on isometric, which is like the least visibly friendly perspective I could have chosen for this game. Short of maybe actual side-on. Okay, so we got this. Long story short, we are going to store our tiles by level. Now we just have to decide how we're going to do that. So I guess we say for level in range. Let's call this levels per ship. These numbers are coincidentally the same, which is strange. Actually, let's call this 4 for now, because we have a 5th one, but we're not really using it. Layers per deck and levels per ship. Oh, layers per... It'll be layers per level then, huh? Really confusing. I picture what you're doing, like a Titan's Quest type of cutaway, kind of. Titan's Quest. Yeah, I should play some Titan's Quest. I probably haven't thought about that game in over a decade. I was watching Jackie play like Fallout 1 or something, and I was watching the cutaway systems for that for like the town. Our complication is we're not just doing like wall cutaways, we're also doing like floor cutaways. Because you're like on the side looking down. All right. I'm going to get so tripped up by the difference between layer and level, but this is fine. This is fine. I could also change deck to just mean what I'm talking about and use like floor as like the layered name. Because right now we have deck, hull, door, deco, crew. We could just make it like floor, wall, door, deco, crew. There's something wrong in my head where I'm like, I want them all to be the same number of letters. I have a problem. I have a variable naming problem. It's like pathological. All right, let's move on. For level and range, levels per ship. Well, this is the same iteration, so let's put it here. Don't you only really need to cut away the level that the player is currently on versus all the floors? Unless the gameplay is looking at several characters at once, maybe. In theory, you're right. And in practice, that will probably end up being what it is. Like, you're probably not going to cut away more than one. From a practical standpoint, I could see if the maps were big enough, you might actually want to do that, but our maps are pretty small. We've only got a 360p viewport that we're working with here. So these levels aren't ever going to be huge. So yeah, we'll probably just say, you know, peel away one layer completely, and then the layer underneath it, you peel away partially, and yeah. That's probably how it will be. Another interesting challenge will be getting selection to work through the cutaway like that. Because we're not really using raycasts or anything like that. But that's a problem for another day. And that actually doesn't sound like that hard a problem. Comparatively. Okay, so level and range, levels per ship. So per level, we need to go through tiles and layer as an array. We don't need to do this. So for... No, so what we actually want to store is this get used cells thing. Variable. Actually, I guess this is the... I don't know. Actually, what we want to do is say deck. Let's just start with deck tiles. Deck tiles by level. Level is get used cells, and then the layer is level by itself, and then we say like hull tiles by level. Level is get used cells level plus 1. And we just iterate through this. And then we have all of our... Then we don't have to deal with the fact that these are all stacked. We just deal with it here, and the rest of the time we just interact with it by type. That's 3. Okay, so that's it. That's way easier than what we were doing. We don't need to do any of this. Oh, shoot. Tiles in layer, append, vector 2i. I see. So we actually can't do it this way. What we need to do is say... We need to actually say something else. We need to say for cell in get used cells level, we say, okay, so we do need an array here. That's fine. Variable, so we're going to call this deck tiles on layer. I don't know. Doesn't really matter what it is. It's an array of... We're basically having to account for the fact that there are offsets. Because all of these, unlike these, which are all separate, because I can't see them, because these are all individual tile maps that have been offset, so they each have their own tile cell grid. This one, even though they're on separate layers, they're all technically using the same grid, so we need to account for the Z offset, which, you know, can't be captured by just an XY thing here. So we need to account for that. And that the difference is 4. There's basically a height of 4 between any given 2 levels of the ship. So that is something we need to account for. Relative... Let's call this relative deck tiles. Because that's what we're going to be doing here. We're going to basically be saying, just take this whole code. Relative deck tiles dot append cell dot x plus level times 4 cell dot y plus. All right, give me a few minutes here, chat. I will be right back. Nature calls. Sorry about that. I'm back. I have like not stepped away from a stream in my first 32 episodes here, but I was like, you know, when you gotta, you gotta. I'm just a little terrified of stepping away and then like getting a raid or like losing viewers. Every viewer is precious to me. Still needs work. Glad to see you're still here. All right, this also still needs work. So what we're doing is for each of these types, we need to basically say the relative deck tiles. Okay, so we just rinse and repeat this basic formula where we get all of the tiles for this given level, and then we append them to this. We're basically transforming them by their level. So we're getting their relative, not their relative, we're getting their, well, yeah, relative. We're getting their layer relative position, like where they are in the vertical stack. Want to hear some gossip? Says Enomoth? Yeah, sure. I may or may not repeat it. So I am not trying to start Twitch beef with anybody. Let's just copy this whole thing over. Who am I kidding? Level +1. Will this process fail if there's nothing in that layer here? Curious about that. In which case we need to like selectively cut these out. Oh, your employer acquired a competitor. Oh, okay. It's fun. You can't imagine the chaos this will be. Yeah, I mean, I guess at least you're in a relatively safe position. If you're on the other side, you know, if you were the one being acquired, I know that's very scary because I don't know. If you're in the kind of position that like we're in, like I know you're in accounting and like I'm in like HR and stuff. Companies generally only need like one of those. So I think when they tend to acquire other companies, they end up consolidating their, I mean, that's what happened to Activision Blizzard, right? Microsoft was like, there will not be significant layoffs at ActiBliz when we buy them. And then they made a ton of people redundant because like they don't need that much corporate support staff. Like they don't need, you know, all of these redundant groups that are just like what you would consider overhead. So yeah, that's scary anytime that happens. We could honestly skip the last few of these because we don't actually have anything in these levels. Maybe I should change deck here, because I also have deco, and I see that feels confusing. I don't know. We'll think about that. Maybe I'll refactor this over the weekend and decide what I like in terms of names. Two, three, four. Crew. Okay, that's everything. So that's it then. So we're now storing these by type. We don't actually need to declare this 5 times. We could just have one array that we're using. I would just need to clear it. We can just say relative tiles. We declare this at the top and then clear it every time. Doesn't really matter, it's a ready function. Do something like that. Should be fine. We could also just say... No, I don't really want to do that, do I? Dot. I don't think I want to append directly to the dictionary. These will be copied by value, right? MS took over and a bunch of projects were dropped. Yeah. You're sure there are going to be some changes to the dev teams? Some egos are going to get hurt. Yeah. Oh, egos. You can't make a breakfast without breaking a few waffles. I don't know. Making the ego thing work. Arrays are always passed by reference. I mean, I think what we were doing is fine. Oh, append array. That's kind of cool. So we were doing it before and there was no problem. We could also, instead of having that intermediary, we could say like, this is a new array. I don't know. Lego my ego, yeah. I don't know. Whatever. We'll try this and see if it works. I feel like it should. It says they're always passed by reference. I don't know. This is where my programming knowledge fails me. Let's just have different ones of these then, for now, till we decide a better way. You could also use a packed vector 2 array, right? We don't actually need to use, just say one of these. Oh, it's a vector 2. It's not a vector 2i. There isn't a packed vector 2i. That's fine. I guess we could just have an integer array and like index it weirdly, but yeah, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, nothing matters. Getting distracted. Getting distracted by my unfamiliarity with the engine here. Whatever, this will work. This will work. We are only running it on ready, so we don't care. All right, now we need to adjust our behavior down here. This is all input stuff. We don't need to touch any of this. This is also an input thing. Topmost layer. We don't want topmost layer. We want to call it like topmost level, I guess. Level. It's gonna start as this levels per ship -1. Yeah, because it's inclusive. Do we actually use layer count for anything? No. We'll hold on to it for now. Current level. This cutaway level? I don't know. Oh, whatever. Let's not rename stuff that we don't have to right now. My code is almost never evaluated by anybody. I mean, obviously, I've got chat here. But, like, professionally, my code is, like, very rarely scrutinized by anybody. So I have the benefit of, like, not really worrying about making sure my structure is very clear and everything's very clear, but I still spend a lot of mental bandwidth on it. Probably shouldn't. The F am I using current level here? Okay. All right, this is the big chunk. This is where the behavior is happening. And this is where we need to deal with this. We also need to look down here because this is where we do our tile data runtime stuff. And we... oh, shoot. This only knows layer. I guess we can figure out what type something is by using the, like, remainder. So we can, like, divide the layer by, like, the layers per level. And whatever the remainder is the type. Yeah, that sounds right. Similarly, relative map doesn't work on layer, it works on level. Maybe it can work on layer. We would just similarly need to do the same thing. Okay, I guess we think about that right now. So we say variable level is layer. Do I have to say mod? Or is it just layer mod? Levels, layers per level. Yeah, there we go. No, that's not the level. That's this is the level. And then variable type is, I guess, yeah, type. We'll call it type. Layer modulo. That should work. And so we say do we not actually have to do that here? Do we only need to do that on the relative mapping? Do it here. Actually, I guess we don't care about the type. Oh, we do a little bit. We do a little bit. We don't need the level, but we do need the type. Whereas here, we don't need the type, but we do need the level. Because it's this. We don't need this. Why were we storing the layer, the level directly on here? And for this one, it's not cutaway tile cells has, it's we need to match. We actually just need to match this. We will say, so the case is 0. We are going to return cutaway cell tiles. So we would say deck tiles by level. Oh, we do need another level. In which case, maybe we want this relative mapping to be level conscious. That's not going to bite me in the ass ever. Call this map to level. I don't know. I like calling it relative versus absolute. A little unclear, but we could have a little documentation that explains that. Level has wait. Cutaway tile cells. We're not even working on the deck cells, tile cells. We need the cutaway tile cells. Are we gonna have to do? I guess we do want to do that. Cutaway deck tiles. So I guess we are defining that per type as well. Don't love that. Okay, we'll call that variable cutaway, maybe cut deck tiles by cutaway deck by deck tiles by level. As long. Cut all tiles by level. It's like a better way to do this, but just want to get it going. It's a little rough here. I don't want to get rid of these just so we don't accidentally use them for anything. Okay, this is what we need. We need cut deck tiles by level. Yeah, this is it. This is what we want here. 1. All tiles. This isn't so bad. We're not feeding in level. We're feeding in, or layer. We're feeding in level. I don't want to change the order of these parameters since we're not using layer. I had layer first because it matched the layer coords of this. This is another good way to make sure I don't miss anything. It's by just totally breaking this function. Absolute map is not going to work until we fix it either. Two. This hurts. This is like a match that we're running for every tile, every frame. Or I guess, you know, if we've notified that tile data update is occurring. Which doesn't need to be every frame, but right now it is. But again, we're only doing this for one entity in the game at a time, so probably fine. Kinda hurts though. This technically... Why is this coming up with an error? Did I have a default? Is it going to be like not all code paths return a value, or is it just upset because, yeah, not all code paths return a value, 116. So I do need a default. What's the default for match? Is it this? Microsoft Defender, I swear to God. Now is not the time. Really hoping this is the default. Guess we should double check. Give me them docs. Pattern matches everything. It's written as a single underscore. It can be used as the equivalent of the default. Okay. Yeah, okay. Making sure. Just making sure. This sucks because this is basically hard-coded. So if we have like a dynamic number of levels, this like fails. There's other ways to do that. Yeah, you think that's the default? All right, so now we just need to do this. Tile data.modulate. Clear if... Oh, F me. We're going to do the same thing here. Yeah, having this be separate cuts for every type by every level is not great. We don't actually need to do it this way. We could just have a single dictionary that has all of the cuts for each level. We would need to explain some things. We would need to store the layer. Like, we don't really need to do it this way, but we would need to include the layer information in the array. So like up here, we would say, when we're storing this, it would be, we'd append a vector 3, and we'd use the z for the layer, which I don't love. I don't see the difference between those cases. It's this, so like, so we've got the layer. It's because we have 5 layers per level, which is super confusing, but we have like deck, hull, door, deco, crew. Yeah. So we don't actually need to do it this way, but we would need to store this information. I mean, I don't think it's that bad. It's like not the end of the world. So we would just continue. We would still need to match layers per level. So this is very not performant, but we might end up regretting doing this way, but let's see what the performance is like first. Let's do it simply. We don't need to store this if we can just calculate it trivially. The same cutaway tile cells, yeah. Why are we relative mapping this? Oh, because we have to. Coords, level. I'll allow it. Oh, yeah. That is a community reference. We'll get that movie eventually. Just no Chevy Chase. Not that we need Chevy Chase. All I need is Troy and Abed in the morning. See, I can do community references. Oops. Yeah, I don't love this. We'll see. We'll see. Add a to-do to these. It would be more performant to store all cutaway tiles in a single dictionary. Actually, it might not be more performant. I'm assuming it would be more performant here if we store all tiles and all cutaway tiles in a single dictionary per level. Per level? No, not per level. I don't know if it's a to-do, it's more of a note. I want to emphasize here. Then we can decide eventually if we care about that. Now I need you to add a Senior Chang sticker to redeem. Alright, we fixed this part, arguably. This doesn't currently work. Do we actually use this anywhere, is the real question. Doesn't look like it. Just gonna comment that out since we don't use it and it doesn't currently work. All right, let's fix this mess, which I think also is going to be a huge pain in the ass to do layer by layer, but this is the world that we've chosen to live in. The F is cutaway level. Oh, we're just modulating the whole layer. Right. Why are we directly reading the input handler here? That's not correct. All right, okay, let's remake this here. So what this used to do is it would go through and it would clean up. So if a tile was now inside the cutaway area, it would add it to the dictionary and mark it as true. So it's saying, you know, these are one of the cutaway tiles and we want you to make it transparent. If it was no longer in the cutaway area, we would keep it in the dictionary, but we would mark it as false. As in, you know, we need you to make this clear again. Or not clear again. We need to make this, you know, we need to unhide this, basically. And then if it was in there and it was false, and it's no longer in the cutaway zone, we just remove it from the dictionary because we've cleaned it up. We could probably come up with a better system than just having bools, but it will work, so let's not go crazy about it right now, I guess. All right, I got like 20 minutes. We can do this. We can do this in 20 minutes. So let's say do we want to iterate by layer or level? Probably level. For level in range levels per ship. If level is topmost level for tile cell. So at the moment, we're going to treat all types indiscriminately. We're going to treat them all the same. So we're just going to have like a straight cutaway. I do like the idea of eventually having the cutaway behavior be different for different levels. Like we cut away the walls first, and then we go back on another pass and we cut away the floors. We would need a more sophisticated way of tracking that in our accumulator. We'd almost need to do it in like sweeps. So for tile in... So we need to iterate through each type, I guess, huh? Deck tiles. Let's start with just doing whole tiles. Let's get this working for just one thing. Tile and whole tiles by level. Am I over-explaining this when I say whole tiles by level? Like, I feel like I get a little verbose. Variable. Do we need this? Just tile cell on layer. Tile cell dot x, tile cell dot. We're storing this relatively already, so why are we making this? Tile cells by layer. Tile cells by layer. How was tile cells by layer store? I deleted everything. I don't know anymore. That's a good thing. That's the C# in you. Yeah. I guess it is. I'm trying not to sweat a lot of stuff like static typing and everything. But I feel like we're going to just get more and more. We'll get more and more strict about that stuff. There are some C# things I really want that I can't have. Sorry for the lip smacking. I'm like, I know it's annoying to hear. And I expect my noise gate to stop me from making that sound, but it does not work. Yeah, I'm annoyed that there's no function overloading, so I can't just have like... I can't have like this relative map function take either a vector2i and an int or a vector3. So that's a little annoying, but that's like such a minor complaint. There's some other stuff too that is missing, but I haven't missed most of it. If we start getting into some more simulation heavy stuff that like GDScript just can't handle, we might dip our toes back into the C# world. But I don't know if we're ever going to get to that point. Okay, I'm getting distracted. So I am declaring the tile cell on layer here as a 3, and I'm doing that so that I can... See it? Why? That's some weird characteristic of how I was storing that. I don't think we need to care about that, because what we're doing is we're just seeing if the tile is within the cutaway zone, or I guess is greater than or equal is I guess the term I used. Because in Godot, the enemy's gate is down, which I am still getting used to. Especially because I'm using the diamond down tile set, whatever you call it. I don't know what you call it. Tile layout, the diamond down tile layout. All right, so we've got our tile in whole tiles by level. We are going to say if tile dot x, we're just going to grab this part, is greater than cutaway coordinates level dot x. We actually do need to double check current level, so we are setting it by level. Cool. We want to store a cutaway per level, and we want to remember it. That's why we're doing that. Or where are my pipes? They're over here. I use a weird keyboard, don't judge me. I use one of the Kinesis keyboards. All of the keys are in the wrong place. But it's removed my RSI, so who cares? It's like cured me. But it also means I'm like looking down at my keyboard a bunch, even though I've been using this keyboard for like 2 years. And it also means I need to rebind the keys for every video game I ever play. But it's good. It's split really far. And it's got lots of thumb keys, which is really nice. So I recommend for people that, you know, just none of the ergonomic keyboards do it for them. Because it keeps my arms separate. It keeps them parallel and separate and at my waist. Gives me them nice angles, them nice ergonomic angles. All right, whatever. So if not... Dan Garep, thank you for the follow. Thank you for stopping by. Sorry if this isn't the most intriguing thing we're doing here. We're working on an isometric side-on kind of FTL-like, and we are addressing some of the cursed problems of doing an isometric side-on FTL-like. So we're developing a cutaway system that lets us peel back the walls of the level so that people can actually see the rooms behind. Hello, hello. You have to replace your keyboard, Enomoth? That's rough. There are going to be so many choices. My biggest annoyance with this fancy, like, I don't remember how much I spent on it, but it was expensive. Super fancy keyboard, it's like not wireless. You'd expect it to be like... I mean, it's a mechanical keyboard, so I guess people are like, they have a need for speed. Dan Garup says, it's interesting, sounds like a good challenge. That is one way of putting it. We're still pretty new to... Godot here, so it definitely is. We're one of the many Unity refugees that came over last year. And so we're learning, and we picked a very ambitious game to basically rebuild from scratch in Godot. So if not, cutaway by tiles level dot has tile. So if we don't have it, let's just add it and mark it as true. Levels, oh, not level, wait. Oh shoot, do we not actually, so our cutaway tile cells, is this just one enormous dictionary that doesn't account for level? I guess that makes sense. So we don't actually account for the level here? Oh, that's why we were storing the level information on the tile cell coordinate. Okay. Yura Starusi. Hello. Sorry, your name is like very hard to pronounce. There's a bunch of consonants right in the middle. If you could sound it out for me, I would you can tell me anything. Okay. Just don't call me late for dinner, right? Would you prefer I use the beginning of your name or the end of your name? Like Rusi or Yura? Dan Garep, you're new to game development. You're working on your first game. Streaming the process is helping me keep it going. Awesome. You're streaming that? When are you streaming? Rusi? Okay, yeah, cool. All right. Shout out Dan Garep. I'm giving Dan Garep a follow here. He is streaming. Streams mostly in the morning. Oh, so did you already stream today? Or are you Or are you going to be starting soon? 6 a.m. UTC -3. Oh, okay. So you already did it. You already did the thing this morning, I assume. Cool. Okay, and Rusi, you're also new, but you're watching the streams. Yeah, I think both helps, honestly. I mean, I do my stream in the morning, and then I have a day job during the most of the that I go to after this, and to the extent that I can, I do like to try to keep an eye on some game dev streams in the background. I get to work from home, so I do have that privilege. And you know, it's hard to pay attention because I'm busy, but we're like doing work. But yeah, just being enmeshed in the environment is really helpful. Just having it around, you know. All right. Well, that's great. I do like to watch a few streams while I'm eating breakfast, so I'm gonna try to. Hopefully, I'll be able to catch you before I do my streaming. You're a bit earlier. You're a bit ahead of me in terms of time zone, but I'm on the Pacific. All right, so this is the problem we've run Square into, is that this cutaway tile cell dictionary that we used to use does not care about... I see. There's a couple of ways that we can do this. It doesn't care about level, so we basically, because we're doing a side-on one of these, we basically have multiple levels. And we're developing a cutaway system that lets us peel, not just down like I'm doing here manually, but also in. So we're able to peel away the outer walls and look into each room. And we are encountering some issues because we've changed the structure of our tile map, and we're trying to deal with that. You want to change careers, you're a senior developer, but you want to create games instead of APIs and tools. Yeah, no, I want to check it out, and I feel you. My day job is not in games, which is a mixed blessing. You know, it keeps me excited to make games in my own free time. I don't know if I would be that excited if it was also my day job, but like if I was working for a big company. I'm gonna posture check myself. All right, okay, we're running out of time, but we really want to do this, so let's tackle this head on here. Oh man, everyone is checking in, or is coming in here, and we're trying to wrap up in the next less than 20 minutes. We got 15 minutes. Let's do this. I says as I'm playing like the chillest music possible in the background. All right, so how do we want to tackle this? Do we want to have this? So wait, let's look at how we did it down here, because I think that's going to inform us. So when we are evaluating whether we need to update a given tile cell, we are looking at its level and we are scrutinizing this by level. We're asking if this array has this tile. So we do have a level conscious system here, or a level aware system. We're not sure if it's the best because, again, we are paying maybe a performance cost here by running a match for every tile cell, which, where my calculator at, which we have a 16 by 16 by 5. That's like a small number. In computer terms, that is a small number. So maybe we don't care. But yeah, so that's the reality right now, at least. So let's work by that assumption. So if not cutaway tiles by level dot has tile, then cutaway deck tiles by level dot append tile. Easy. Easy peasy. All right, else. What's our else? We're like recreating this logic, but using a different structure here. So we did this. Now we need else if not. So we're checking if it has it, but now because this value is a Boolean. Oh, shoot. So we can't use the Boolean system. So we need a different cleanup system than what we have. Let's do this differently. So let's say, oh, this sucks. We can't actually do what I'm suggesting by this, which is this is a dictionary of an array of vector 2i, which is the coordinates. Because this previously was a dictionary keyed by the tile coordinates with a Boolean. And we were using the Boolean because we wanted to know if we wanted to process the tile, but we used the Boolean to determine whether it was clear or white, like whether we were modulating out or putting it back. So we can't actually do that this way. So maybe we do need to return a vector 3. The problem is that we actually need like a vector 4 because we need the layer and the level. I guess technically we only need the layer information. We could store the layer and calculate the level, because the layer is at least guaranteed to be unique. Oh, sorry. Rusi, you ask, if you were to work on a 3D game, would it be first person or third person? Personally, I think that really depends, which is the worst kind of answer, but also the most honest answer, because when you are playing a first-person game, you are really in the element. Like you are in the scene when you're in first person. Like you are the character. And in third person, you are controlling the character. So I think if I was doing something that was more like visceral, like a horror game or an FPS, I would do... I mean, FPS is inherently first person, but if I was doing something more strategic, like something more tactical, or maybe something more character-based, like an RPG, I think I would go third person. And I feel like the industry has largely borne that out, where strategic and like role-playing games, generally you'll see a third-person character, and then you'll, for like horror and first-person shooter games, that is it. That's the default. Like there are obviously exceptions where you'll see, first-person art modes in RPGs or third-person shooters and stuff, but that's just my instinct. Cubist Dev, Vector 4 does exist. It'll be third person, always hydrate. Thanks for the reminder. Thank you. And welcome to the chat, Cubist Dev. I know you came in with Jotson yesterday. I appreciate that. I appreciate you coming back, checking us out. Yeah, you're right. Vector 4 exists. And maybe that's what we should just do. That gets rid of these crazy matches here, which this is an area where I should be performance-minded, because we are potentially running this for every single tile in the tile map. So that would look like... So you'd basically take in... So we'd change this back. It would be... You'd feed in layer, integer, towards vector 2i, and you would get back a vector 4. We could do 3, but you're right. 4 is basically for free, just because of how, you know, memory works. I don't think we're losing anything by doing a 3 versus a 4. I mean, the size of the storage goes up, I guess, a little bit, but it's not like we're having any problems. So we would return, it would be coords plus, so we would need to calculate level from layer, and level is layer divided by layers per level. So we would say level times 4, coords y plus level times 4, and we would restore the information, and we would say layer and level. And then so we've made it relative, but we are including all of the information that you would need to get it back. So we could do that. That is very much an option. In which case, we could just go back to saying and then we at least have a unique, I mean, technically we could just say, we could also have it be, we could also only store layer and calculate level every time. So we don't actually need it to be a 4. I don't know. I'm torn. That's always, like, that's forever the question is, do you store a variable or do you store a value or do you calculate it like every time you need it? It lets us clean this up though. So we wouldn't need to store cutaways by level. We would go back to what we had before, which was just return cutaway tiles dot has relative map layer coords. We would go back to this. Which I don't hate. Similarly, we could do the same thing. We would say, we would grab this tile data to modulate. We would say it's clear if cutaway tiles relative layer coords. And then we can go back to the structure that we were using before. Say store, because that's what we're doing. You can probably get rid of those notes if we end up keeping this. All right, so now this goes back largely to the structure we have here. I guess we call it cutaway tile cells. I don't know. I don't use the term tile cell very much. I think of them as just tiles. All right, so we can go back. So let's change some of this stuff. So we do store them by type. So we store the, the decks. We store the decks separately from the halls and the door. It's hard to see because it's actually the opposite here. So doors, halls, decks. So we do store them separately, but when we decide that they are ready to be cut away, we'll put them all in just one big list of things to cut away, and we will no longer care about their type. Although we've made this a little redundant, this deck tiles by level. Storing them all separately because they're stored by level. I guess that's fine. So we would, so we'll still store them as vector 2i's, because that's the only information we need at this phase, because they're indexed by level and their layer is implied by their organization here. So layer 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. We could potentially go back to just storing them all, or at least have a storage of all of them, so we aren't having to iterate through. Maybe we just also do that. Maybe we just also store that here as like tile cells by level. Oh, in which case we aren't even storing them by level. We would just, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what we want to do. I actually do think processing them by type is good, because we can do what I've described earlier by like having them cut away differently based on what type they are, having the walls cut away first and then the floors, etc. So we'll do that. We'll stick with that. But now this needs to work differently. So for tile in tile, so if not cutaway tiles, what are we calling this down here? Yeah, we're calling it cutaway tiles. That's not actually declared anywhere. That here. Get rid of these. And we'll say, so if not cutaway tiles dot has vector. Actually, this is why I'm declaring it. Tile. Hard coding it right now, which is not ideal, but we're also just testing this out on just one type. Else if not cutaway tiles. Tile. Okay, we're getting there. We just need a little bit more of this logic to be implemented here. Just copy this over. Why is this complaining? Oh, because we're indexing into it, not calling a function. All right, that's the logic. And then we just put that in here one more time. Elif out of there. All right, that should be a recreation of the same logic that we had before. We will retain this just in case that ends up not being true. Oh, I gotta go. Let's run this and see if we have errors. We almost certainly do. Oh, debugger 41. The F is all this. What are all those errors? I don't know what those errors are, but they seem to have to do with our tile map. And nothing works. Huzzah! Alright, that's fine. This episode is ending on a cliffhanger. Luckily, it's only Thursday, so we're going to come back tomorrow, and we are going to fix all of our errors here. But yeah, I have a work meeting to go to in 1 minute, so I'm going to go do that. But thanks for everyone showing up. I appreciate all the follows today. Still Needs Work, Dan Gurup, Rusi. But yeah, we'll be back tomorrow, same time. Yeah, I hope to see some of you there. Dan, I'm going to try to catch one of your streams. But yeah, looking forward to it. Until next time, bye.